We could easily spend the rest of the night on any one of our readings tonight. They're all beautiful. They all speak of our Lord's love, his mercy, of his kindness, his desire to be one with us. Starting with our second reading, Paul tells us that while we were still sinners, Christ came to save us. Sometimes we, get it into our mind or into our hearts that we have to be perfect before we can approach God completely. We have to have it all figured out. But it's not the case. We are all works in progress. We're on a journey. It's a pilgrimage. Our first reading comes to us from the Exodus event, and it's one of the main parts of the scriptures the church holds up for us to pray with throughout this holy season. Because the Exodus event is our story. God goes to free his people from slavery. Slavery to the Egyptians, but also slavery to sin. They're wandering through the wilderness. They say it was better in Egypt. It was better when we were enslaved. It was better back there before we started moving in this direction of freedom. As much as the worldly slavery is bad, it's not God's primary concern. His primary concern is right relationship, his right worship. God primarily wants to free his people from their slavery to false gods. We see that in our first reading, and we see it fulfilled in our gospel. In short, this woman is a sinner. And the 5 husbands that she's had, the one now that isn't even her husband, represents the ways in which God's people had fallen into idolatry. How they'd walked away from God time and time again in their history. And so while this is an event that happened with an individual, she spiritually represents, again, all of us in the times that we continue to fail.